Okay, guys, I want you to take a listen to the absolute, just total, blatant disrespect meted out against Latinos writ large, then landing on a really gross joke about Puerto Rico in one of the most Puerto Rican cities in America, New York City, during the Donald Trump Madison Square Garden send up to the 1930s Nazi rally event that they held Sunday in New York City. Take a listen. The comedian's name is John Hinchcliffe, and he is a comedian and podcaster. And here are his jokes.
Welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country. Republicans are the party with a good sense of humor. It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. Getting there. No.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the problem, Johnny. Donald Trump is going to need substantial votes from Puerto Ricans in order to win states like Florida, Pennsylvania. You see where I'm going? And even though Puerto Ricans who are on the island are not allowed to vote for president, which is crazy, by the way, as soon as they are in the United States, because they are U.S. citizens, they can vote for president, meaning you're probably turning off a lot of voters that you're going to need in Pennsylvania and Florida. And yeah, you're not going to win New York, but I thought part of the goal of doing a big rally in New York was to run up your numbers in New York, to try to plus up your popular vote. Well, this isn't going to help you because New York is also home to a whole lot of Puerto Ricans. The vast majority of Puerto Ricans have self-respect. And so now you've attacked Puerto Ricans. You've attacked Haitian Americans, who, again, really split their votes. And a lot of them are Republicans, at least they were. Venezuelans, who also are numerous in the state of Florida and in the state of New Jersey. And apparently in Ohio. What's the plan here, Donald? Having comedians or yourself or your vice president mock potential voting constituencies just because they're not white, it's a little bit too on the nose for the Nazi thing. Just saying. Oh, and this didn't help either.
The cartels are gone. The criminal migrants are gone. The gangs are gone. America is for Americans and Americans only.
It's giving 1930s.
Welcome to Let It Be Known News. I was over here doing my black job, It's just horrible. It is absolutely horrible. I was at Madison Square Garden on Friday night and talking to some of the workers, a couple of the workers anyway, was talking about the forthcoming Trump rally. And just about everyone, according to them, was so happy when they got notice that they didn't have to work the Trump rally. And these are a number of these guys, including the owner of Madison Square Garden, are Republicans, and the owner of Madison Square Garden is a Trump supporter. The owner of the Knicks and Rangers and MSG and the Spear in Las Vegas, but they wanted no part of it. And why? Why? Because of the racist rhetoric, the hate that they knew was coming, and this was Friday, and they all this is going to be Hitler-like. And as Joy brought out, it's like a send up to that Hitler rally that was held there. So it's so interesting that we're talking to folks, and as you may know, if you watch this program, I go a lot to the garden, and most of them very nice folks. We have great, great conversations all the time. The security, and the workers, and these are by and large Trump folks, or at least Republicans, and they didn't want any part of it. One of the security guards was telling me, um, and he says, Stacy, he says they had a meeting. They said the Secret Service says to tell your employees we don't even want them near the garden if they're not scheduled to work. He said you don't have to tell me twice. And these people love working there. I mean, they get to see some of the greatest entertainers in the world. Um, of course, sporting events, boxing, wrestling, UFC, all that stuff. And make no mistake, the folks at the Garden I don't know about some arenas, other arenas. I know at stadiums it's hard to catch a glimpse of the games. They get a chance to watch what's going on. In fact, Stevie Wonder was there a couple of weeks ago, and one of my favorite uh, workers there who serves me food and drinks and stuff like that. He was telling me he was upset because our section was closed. They only opened the section that I usually sit in if it's an end around concert. Stevie's wasn't an end around concert. He had never seen Stevie Wonder perform, so he was upset that they didn't extend an invitation for him to work somewhere else at the Garden during the Stevie Wonder concert. And he didn't get a chance to buy tickets. They had sold out immediately, and even I guess employee discounts were gone. Everything was gone for Stevie Wonder. Um, but these folks wanted absolutely no part of that mess. And you notice, like, um, so Vice President Harris brings out people like Tyler Perry, Samuel L. Jackson, Spike Lee, Bruce Springsteen, of course, Beyonce and Kelly, names you know. And Trump, the biggest name that you might know is Kid Rock. Um, but this obscure comedian, and then Sid Rosenberg from the WFAN and the old Don Imus sidekick, whatever. It's like, didn't you die or something? Where'd you come from? Didn't you go to prison for like being a degenerate gambler or something like that? Uh, and they come out and then they spew. These are criminals spewing criminality. So this is, and to um, spew such hate toward Puerto Ricans in a largely populated Puerto Rican city. I mean, there are as many Puerto Ricans in New York as there are in San Juan. And you come out with that. Mike V said he brought out Hulk Hogan too. What's his name? Terry. What's his real name? Terry something. And well, think about um Hulk Hogan or Terry, whatever his last name is. Um, he took his stand years ago as far as letting people know he hates black people. His daughter was dating a black guy and he lost his mind. He just absolutely went ballistic. And his daughter was kind of cute too. And he went absolutely ballistic. All types of, I mean, he invented new ways to say the N word. So that's how bad it was for Terry Hulk Hogan. And Austin says Trump and his criminal disciple cult. And Orange G says some of those Puerto Ricans will vote for Trump. Just jokes. Some black, just like I guess he get it right. Power 96. Just like some black folks will vote for Trump after he has demeaned black people. Um, Good morning, Angela Connolly and Joni King. Um, but the vice president rolls out people you know, people who have earned a at least a modicum of respect. And I mean, who doesn't like Samuel L. Jackson? Who doesn't like Bruce Springsteen? There's this iconic video that Flavor Flav posted a few weeks back, and he met Bruce Springsteen. I thought he had met him before, but apparently he met him for the first time, and he just went absolutely ballistic. And Springsteen went ballistic about meeting Flavor Flav. I mean, it's a great video.
Kamala,
And
is it a dance party with Beyonce?
I heard
Dance
you got
party with Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. 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 Party with Beyonce. 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 Dance party with Beyonce. Joe Biden is asleep. Kamala, is it a dance party with Beyonce? Beyonce. 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 Dance party with Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce.
look,
Dance
wait,
party with
listen.
Beyonce.
I mean, and that's what he tries to hit out at her. And I thought the vice president had an amazing line the other day at one of her rallies. Apparently, a few Trump supporters got in and they started yelling, and she says, "He says, oh no, I think you're at the wrong rally. It's the smaller one down the street." So even the vice president is showing some humor there and some pushback, but doing it the right way. Um, and I just saw something this morning, and I got a message into a congratulatory message into our um, advertising guru for the Black Press, Ron Burke. Um, a major announcement by the Democratic National Committee that they have taken out a historic seven-figure ad campaign to reach Black voters featuring celebrity voices. Jamie Harrison, the chair of the DNC, says this investment showcases Democrats' unwavering commitment to reaching Black voters where they are and through the platforms they trust, including familiar Black voices that will reach them on the airwaves to ensure they have the resources they need to cast their ballot in the most important election of our lifetimes. Um, and they go on to talk about knowing how the Black vote is going to be critical. But they are having a DNC HBCU homecoming tour as part of this. BET We Vote tour. And Black Radio. Kerry Washington is involved in this. Latoya Luckett Coles is involved. John Legend, Stevie Wonder, um, and the newspapers include the Afro American in Baltimore, the Baltimore Times. The Baltimore Times got a double shot of it because it's the Baltimore Times and the Annapolis Times, the Daily World in Atlanta, as well as the Voice. So many others, Dallas Weekly, Philadelphia Sunday Sun, North Dallas Gazette, the New York Amsterdam News. We can go on and on. Indianapolis Recorder, etc. And see, it makes it seven figures. It's making me choke. But it's 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 a sound investment to um, engage members of the Black press of America. Um, and it's 55 of the newspapers in the Black press family plus an additional uh was it 30 some odd radio stations um and media companies also involved with the black press. So it's a huge deal. They are really turning it up as Trump turns up the rhetoric and his folks turn up the racism. Um, the DNC is turning up its commitment to black owned entities, and you love to see it. Also, this morning, we're going to talk about the 7 Columbia College students who did something in 1960 that they're finally being honored properly for today, um, or at least being getting justice today. It's about the sit-ins. We'll talk about that, and again, the misinformation and the disinformation. Well, there was this. Elon Musk is a horrible individual. Let's just put it out there, right? He has, or at the very least, let me rephrase that. At the very least, he has turned Twitter into a horrible place, a disgusting place. And it's just unfortunate as journalists, we are still forced to use. Now, I am actually, we try to use the other apps as well. And I am a member of Bring the Noise, Chuck D's social media site. Um, and I know he's still improving it, but it's a great experience. I would recommend folks to go there. Chuck still does some Twitter, but and he says he's not trying to replace um, Twitter, but give you a give you an alternative, and it's a really good alternative. You should check it out. If you haven't checked out the Bring the Noise app, check it out. But then, of course, there's Spill, that really, it kind of slowed down a little bit after its initial launch, and Threads. But the point is, so this account that was making all this noise called the Black Insurrectionist, um, where supposedly a black guy was behind it and spewing all of the widely circulated conspiracy theories. Well, turns out he's white, and there's some other issues with this guy, but it shows you again where this stuff emanates and what they're trying to do. RNG says he's on Bring the Noise. He says, Power 96, I have trouble with English anyway. And he always gives you these, iPhone not have Twitter, he says. Do not, he meant. That's right. Get it right the first time. English is not my strong suit. And then you speaking Ebonics over here. I'm totally lost with that. And we're also going to talk about this morning Al Pacino. Al Pacino has been acclaimed, of course, for roles like The Godfather and Dog Day Afternoon, but he credits the black community and hip hop for making popular a role that he holds really dear, a role that he's gotten within the industry, including folks from like Martin Scorsese, Brian De Palma, not Brian De Palma, but others. Um, he got a lot of heat, and he says he still today gets heat for it, but he does not care. We're going to talk about that as well. But first, I want to also mention Eric Adams. You know, folks, I heard somebody say Eric Adams can't go to prison fast enough. So we talked about, and you saw what Joy and Reed posted on the whole shenanigans at the Garden yesterday. And by the way, the Knicks play at the Garden tonight, so they'll clean the Garden from all the refuge that is that was yesterday. Um, but Eric Adams defended Trump in his rhetoric yesterday. He says he wishes people would stop calling him a fascist. He's not. Um, he's far from it. Eric Adams says, and I mean, just defended the man like he I thought for a moment there, 'cause sometimes they say we all look alike. I thought that he was like Tim Scott or something, or Byron Donalds, but I had to take a look. No, that's Eric Adams. That is him. But it wasn't the first time that the indicted New York mayor has staked out common ground with Trump. Um, so him saying holding the press conference ahead of the garden event um, was just it's absolute. If you're gonna hold a press conference, let it be about the security. But he wanted to hold a press conference because you know what? You know what he's doing.
For the presidential candidate Trump's rally. We urge New Yorkers to avoid driving in the area. It is going to be an extremely crowded vehicle traffic flow. And so we are really urging New Yorkers to take public transport.
Yeah. Uh, he also says I've heard those terms hurled at me by some political leaders in the city using terms like Hitler and fascist. Um, but come on. Yeah, you're gonna compare yourself. Yeah, I guess with the indictments now you can compare yourself to him. The only see again, the only difference, you have a really good chance of going to prison when it when you want to compare. It's just come on, give me a break here. Michelle Obama re-entered the political scene yesterday as well. She stood before a crowd in Michigan. Actually, it was Saturday. I'm sorry, I get my days mixed up. But yeah, Austin. That's what he's shooting for. He says a possible pardon by Donvict. She says she confessed. Michelle says she confessed to being a bit frustrated and a little angry at some of the things she heard about why people were holding back support for Kamala Harris. She says that the lie that we do not know who Kamala Harris is or what she stands for, saying too many voters are shrugging off former President Trump's character and his uh, track record. Thanks. Um, and so Michelle went in on, of course, the Donald. She says, I hope you'll forgive me. I'm a little frustrated that some of you are choosing to ignore Trump's gross incompetence while asking Kamala to dazzle us at every turn. She says, I hope that you will forgive me if I'm a little angry that we are indifferent to his erratic behavior, his obvious mental decline, his history as a convicted felon, a known slumlord, a predator found liable for sexual abuse. All of this while we pick apart Kamala's answers from interviews that he doesn't even have the courage to do. She, you don't need a closing argument after her, do you? And by the way, the closing argument from the vice president is scheduled for tomorrow at all places. The Ellipse in DC, and the Ellipse is exactly where Donald Trump held his last rally as president just before sending them his followers or encouraging his followers to descend upon the U.S. Capitol, and we know what happened there. In 1960, seven Columbia College students dared to challenge whites only dining policies at local lunch counters. Well, this weekend, their criminal records were finally cleared. The expungements approved with fanfare by Circuit Court Judge Robert Hood could be a first for Columbia, according to researchers. Prior expungements, I should say, in South Carolina include for the Friendship 9 college students cleared in 2015 for arrest at a Rock Hill lunch counter in 1961. Prominent figures of the civil rights movement cleared in other states include Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Claudette Colvin, who was arrested for refusing to move to the back of a segregated Alabama bus. And we know the story of the Wilmington 10, of course, finally cleared in circa 2012. Of those false arrests from the 1970s. And Charles Barr, one of the newly cleared individuals from 1960, says that who would think it would have taken 60 years for them to clear this up and for us to be recognized and to take our records away. The 7 students of Allen and Benedict College, 2 HBCUs that are located actually across from each other in downtown Columbia, were arrested for breach of peace and trespassing. The U.S. Supreme Court overturned their convictions in 1964, 4 years after their arrest, but the charges have remained on their criminal records. The charges are a reminder of a time when Black residents couldn't eat at lunch counters without facing jail time. Now, Mr. Barr lives in Silver Springs, Maryland now, while his fellow student, that's still alive, Simon Bowie, lives in Columbia. They're the only 2 of the 7 who lived long enough to see their names cleared, which is really a shame. Nameplates with white roses in front of them represented the other 5 men during a ceremony over the weekend. The families cheered as uh, the papers were signed, the expungement papers were signed, and these men, after all these years, after 60 years, now have a clean criminal record. And what does that tell you? 60 years with a criminal record. How many jobs were they turned down for because of that? How many opportunities were lost because of that? Think about that. A whole lot. Turning back our attention to the social media situation, Black Insurrection is the anonymous social media persona behind some of the most widely circulated conspiracy theories about the 2024 election can be traced to a man from upstate New York, a white man. His profile photo is a Black soldier, and he has the tagline, "I follow back true patriots." It had more than 300,000 followers, and he posted all of these dubious claims about the vice president and Governor Walls. And the thing about it is, Trump, JD Vance, Lindsey Graham, and other Senate Republicans and congressional Republicans would retweet and post stuff that this individual posted, this false stuff, and spread the disinformation like wildfire. Um, I mean, he claimed without any, just for an example, without any truth or basis, uh, that Governor Walls had been inappropriate with a student some years ago. Um, he made claims about he's the guy who continues to post these falsities about Kamala Harris's so-called relationships in the past. David Youngblood says, "Make that guy famous, show his face, and there he is." So this is what been going on with the disinformation, and folks fall for it constantly. A sock puppet. I like that. Mike V says he's a sock puppet. Wow, that's funny. But again, you can't trust anything on Twitter. You can't trust anything whatsoever on that platform. Um, it has totally deteriorated the moment this guy bought it. And when he bought it, he had some part owners. He's of course the principal owner. He put the most money into it. But one of his investors for Twitter or X, none other than the one and only P. Diddy. Just had to, I just had to mention that because I know you guys are on Diddy withdrawal, and so somebody needs to hear that. Um, somewhere Aunt Pam is like, "What the heck is my nephew talking about? Did he withdraw?" um, check this out. So she said, "Who?" Daniela Pierce. See, she's another one with that makes me laugh too. The stuff that she writes in, and she be on point though. She be on point. Um, so I like Al Pacino. I like a lot of his stuff. Um, and I know he has a huge fan base. I know he also has people who he obviously has detractors, including those in the industry. And he was talking about that recently when it came to perhaps a role that is as controversial as any role someone of his caliber has portrayed. And we're talking obviously about Tony Montana in Scarface. That 1983 film, it started out, and he talks about this a- as a huge miss at the box office initially. And then hip hop and the black community caught on to Scarface, the movie. And it took off. It became a cult champion, really. And so while promoting his new book, Sonny Boy, Al Pacino appeared on the Mark Moran WTF podcast, and he shared how that one movie is uniquely threaded in rap culture. Whether it is from basic mentions to some of his own dialogue from the film being sampled, Scarface is heavily mentioned and referred to in rap and hip hop lyrics. At the time of its release, Scarface, of course, as we said, was not widely embraced by critics or Hollywood insiders. He says that Pacino said at the premiere, Martin Scorsese turned around in the middle of the film and said, "You guys are great, but be prepared because they're going to hate it in Hollywood." He said that to me, and he didn't know me from Adam. It was hard to believe at that point in time, Scorsese so- would say that, and Pacino says he didn't know me from Adam, and he says why? Because it's about them. It's about them. Is what Scorsese said. Even he even recalled losing interest in acting before Scarface was released. But he said the fan reaction told a different story. He says the audience liked it. It took a while. He says, but it was in the streets and not the studios where the film's influence began to take hold. And as hip hop really began to take off in the 1980s and, of course, in the 90s, artists and fans found a profound connection to the rags to riches story of Tony Montana. It also showed the power of the drug dealer and kingpin, which at one point became a thumping theme in rap music. And Pacino said, hip hop just got it. They just got it. They understood it. They embraced it. He said the rappers, he says, and then the next thing you know, VHS is going out and more people are seeing it. Rappers like Raekwon, Jay Z, Nas, The Lox, Biggie Smalls, they all began to reference the film. And then he mentioned Mob Deep sampling it. And also in 2003, he says he recalls Def Jam released a compilation titled Music Inspired by Scarface that featured artists like Cameron, NWA, Joe Budden, and Melly Mel. Pacino pointed out how difficult it is not to see the impact, saying, "We're on the records, these rappers." And then it just carried and it kept going and going. I mean, he really, really gave a nod to it because he said he loved the role. When they offered him the role, even his agent was like, "No, no, we don't want this." And he said Scarface the movie did more than Scarface the rapper to me. It's on the track. Scarface the movie did more than Scarface the rapper. This is on the track. And that's what the Jay-Z's track, I should say. I thought I mentioned Jay-Z's name, but connected. And Pacino took that Jay-Z quote that he rapped to and thought, wow, what an honor to pay homage more to the movie than the guy who named himself Scarface. So Pacino says that it was really hip hop. He said he wasn't interested in doing anything else after Scarface, because even before Scarface, he had started losing interest in acting. And then the response that he got from some Hollywood bigwigs, he was done. But he said hip hop brought him back. It's really interesting to hear that. I thought it was really interesting that he gives all the credit to hip hop. And they go on to talk about all these other artists, Jermaine Dupri, who had artists under his label who was openly inspired by Scarface. Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg offered a line, a quote. He said that regarding Scarface, Tony Montana, he came from nothing. He says, we seen him come from nothing and have to struggle to just get his citizenship to where he had to hustle. Oh, my. So anyway, Scarface does transcend its original reception. I'm laughing at something I'm not going to share with you guys at the moment. Maybe later I'll share with you. Oh my goodness. So everyone has picked up the whole Tony Montana mantra. I think that's part of their problem, to be honest with you. They try to live that life, even though they've made it. And then that's why you see so many of them getting locked up and stuff. In fact, speaking of being locked up, I know Greer's like, we're running out of time here. But speaking of being locked up, we got tomorrow, I promise you, an update, and could be a major update on the Young Thug trial tomorrow. So stay tuned for Let It Be Known tomorrow. Greer's going to be at Kamala Harris's rally tomorrow. You know, she's going to be, I think she might even take the stage or something and sing, because Beyonce didn't sing, so Greer will probably have to fill in. So we'll bring you that coverage too. But we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Let It Be Known. Still not me. Come on.
My husband. President Donald J. Trump. My husband. President Donald